Hey, welcome back to another edition of AI in Action. Zach, great to see you. Man, it feels like we could do this every day and have an hour's worth of stuff to talk about. I mean, since the last time we chatted, Andy Jassy, Amazon CEO, comes out with a letter basically saying AI is coming for everybody's job. Meta's out there snapping up CEOs. People are getting $100 million job offers. Microsoft and OpenAI are beefing. We even saw a completely AI generated ad during the NBA finals. It was absolutely unhinged. You and I could chat forever about all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world of AI. But in this series, we stay focused on Salesforce and HubSpot, but there's plenty going on there as well. So let's dig in, man. I think that the thing, that I was reflecting on TDX, back in March, Salesforce was talking about voice enabled agents. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I think even back in Dreamforce of last year, their big demo was essentially a voice agent, where you're calling in on customer service and you're just interacting with someone. And it feels like you're interacting with a human, but really you're speaking with an AI and it's able to replicate voice and make those decisions. So really it's a cool technology. I think historically the main challenge with this type of tech has been reducing that latency to where when I'm having a conversation with that AI, if there's kind of an unnatural pause, it becomes really obvious that you're not talking with a human being. So that's been, I think, one of the biggest challenges in getting this out to everybody is getting that done. But we do know that Salesforce, from a roadmap perspective, I believe they're piloting this with select customers right now. And they've loosely targeted Dreamforce of this year for this technology to become generally available. So I'm optimistic that hopefully by the end of the year, we'll see this functionality come to Salesforce customers that are using Agentforce to be able to use voice AI and call center technology to where an AI can actually take those calls and route it. I think just right now, it's as far as Salesforce goes, it's not quite yet available, but it is coming. And I know we have a lot of customers that they're waiting to implement AI until this is available because this is their primary use case. So I'm excited for this to actually come to fruition.
Yeah, I recall that demo at Dreamforce now that you mention it. Dreamforce is October, November this year.
I believe it's October this year, so they bumped it back about a month.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely looking forward to that. That'll be cool. And you could see how that technology would be really beneficial. A lot of people able to now, help customers more consistently around the clock, at a less cost where they're not having to pay for human agents to staff the entire time.
And well, we've all been on phone calls with customer support with an automated dialer, and you call in and it's, hey, if you're calling about this, press one. And if you're calling about this, press two. And there are some technologies out there where you can say it with your voice, but we still know that you're pausing and you're having to say words that are going to be recognized. And so, from a back end perspective, those are decision trees that you have to create so that you know what words to expect so that you can make those decisions. So the ability to understand utterances without having to kind of pre-program those decision trees and then adapt that to a voice system, I think is going to be really powerful.
I can even recall, and it wasn't Salesforce with the tech, but an ad that launched last year where the agent was selling over the phone. I think it was for I don't know, one of like iPhone or something like that. But the agent actually was talking to someone and giving a sales pitch and answering questions like that. So really exciting possibilities there.
Yeah, and there are purpose-built tools out there kind of outside the Salesforce ecosystem that can do this today. I think the exciting part about bringing this to Salesforce is you're able to integrate that directly with your CRM, the call centers in the CRM. You're able to capture that information directly without having to integrate it with another system or a platform. So I think that's going to be really a big update for a lot of customers that are already involved in Agentforce or are waiting to get involved until this technology is available.
Absolutely. Another big thing that kind of hit recently is Agentforce inside of Slack. That's pretty exciting possibilities there.
Very exciting. Agentforce has been available inside of Slack if you had a certain tier of Slack and, of course, Agentforce. But now Salesforce came up with some updated pricing on Slack that makes it a little bit more accessible. So I think we'll see more people able to leverage tools like this. But imagine that, you're interacting in Slack every day. A lot of organizations that are built on Slack, that's their primary communication channel, right? Like for us, we use Google Chat, and that's how we're planning for these podcasts. That's how we're doing pretty much all of our collaboration, right? So if you're a Slack first company, you've got documents, you've got conversations, you've got integrations, you probably have Salesforce integrated already. So wouldn't it be great if you could take some of the agents that you have in Salesforce and interact with those directly inside of Slack? And that's essentially exactly what this is. So you can build sort of purposeful agents whose purpose is to be actually accessed through Slack, which means you could just be in part of a natural conversation. Maybe you're in a channel specific to, let's say, an opportunity or a project, whatever that could be. And you could invoke that agent to go out and retrieve information for you or perform actions on your behalf. Let's say that you're working on a project and you want to be able to generate a project plan based on some of the materials that you have within that project based channel. And that could come from just conversations that you've had with people. It's not structured data, it's not a plan you've put together or anything like that. But being able to go and mine through that conversation and pull out some insights and then have an agent go take care of creating a project plan record, as an example, it really easy, right? It makes that whole process easier as opposed to having to juggle multiple apps and tabs and hopping from browser tab to browser tab just to be able to have that directly inside of Slack. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, you're starting to really see that whole Salesforce Slack partnership really with Agentforce being layered in now, just a whole new era of productivity gains.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think a lot of customers, especially those that are already using Slack, um, if they're not on Agentforce, that's a great reason to pilot an agent to do that right inside of Slack. And if they're already working with Agentforce, maybe it makes sense to take some of the agents they've built already and just integrate it with Slack so that it can take actions for them without having to log in to Salesforce separately.
Speaking of which, and how we're seeing clients use Agentforce, we've got some clients out there doing really amazing stuff with this technology. Thinking of one in particular that they've been deploying Agentforce internally themselves. We've been kind of helping them from the sidelines. Tell us a little bit about that case study.
Yes, this client has done some pretty cool things on the service side of the business. So they are leveraging the LLM capabilities of Agentforce. And sometimes it's with an agent where you're chatting back and forth with that agent. But I think the coolest use cases that they have are actually invoking the LLM or invoking the agent from the background. So they've built flows that have the ability to be triggered by a record action or triggered on a scheduled basis, whatever that may be. And as an example, they are able to run a process that can detect duplicate cases, which, there's a lot of tools out there that can do that, but it's relying on rules and a bunch of pre-built logic. And you have to say, well, this wins over this, and you have to apply that to everything. Well, instead of doing that, they're invoking the LLM and they're saying, hey, I need you to go and compare these cases and determine if you think it is a duplicate. And if you have a high likelihood, you're confident that this is most likely a duplicate, let's go ahead and merge those cases together. And you need to do it in this way. So essentially, it's a big prompt where it tells it exactly what it's supposed to do and the logic that's involved. And it's able to take care of a lot of those duplicate cases for them. And then in a similar vein, still related to cases, still in the service side of the business, if you're an email to case customer, you've probably dealt with the problem where somebody responds to an email on a closed case and says, hey, thanks for, solving this problem for me. Well, it reopens the case or it creates a new case, right? Because it thinks it's a new thread of conversation. And there's a lot of sort of things you can put in place to help mitigate that. Usually it's logic to help identify it and evaluate it, and you're planning it out. What they've done is they're using the LLM, they're using a prompt template that instructs the agent when a new case comes in or a new email comes in, it evaluates the content of that email to determine if it should actually be a case or if it is something simple like a thank you message or something that doesn't actually warrant creating a case. And then based on the confidence that it is a real case or not, it can then go and automatically close that case. And so that has saved them a ton of time. I mean, they had thousands and thousands of these cases that were opened when they shouldn't be. And so they were able to take advantage of prompt templates and the LLM capability inside of Salesforce to categorize that for them. And also, I think you would look at that and say, well, is it doing it at scale? Is it really doing it in a good way? And they're saying it's 90 to 95% accurate.
Wow.
And so, yeah, of course, there's that 5%. So you still have to put some mechanisms in there to allow you to report on it and catch the exceptions and keep that human in the loop. But to see a 90 to 95% accuracy level on doing something like that, I mean, you can imagine how much time that's saving their team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on this, and I think it's an important point we want to keep reiterating here is AI is great. AI is advancing at a miraculous rate, but it's always important to keep that human in the loop. It's always important, especially when you're building these autonomous agents, to have tight governance around them to make sure that you're getting some human eyes on it and that they're behaving the right way.
I think there's a few schools of thought here, really not even schools of thought, just opinions. And it varies from AI is going to put everyone out of work and it's going to change the world overnight to it's not a big deal. It's probably not going to change anything. The reality is it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think we can reliably say it's not going to put anyone out of work. And I don't think we can say it's not going to make a difference. Like we know it's making a difference. I mean, we just talked about a real world business use case that's saving a ton of time. So it is very important that we put guardrails in place. We want to make sure that we are keeping that human in the loop because while these tools are amazing at helping us understand language in a way that allows us to apply that to computer systems to actually process logic that we would have had to pre-program before, it's not 100% reliable, right? And if you're in an industry where you're demanding 99.9% accuracy, you've got to have someone shadowing the AI to help ensure that you can catch exceptions, that you can test scenarios over and over again. I think what we found with most of our Agentforce implementations is the configuration work. It can be complex if you're doing really complex actions, but generally speaking, it's not months worth of configuration. It's maybe a few weeks worth of configuration, and then most of the time and effort is going towards testing and refining the language and making sure that that agent is performing in a reliable, repeatable way with lots of variations for the questions that are asked and the utterances that are provided. And that tends to be where the weight of the time being spent starts to lean towards because there's just so much variation in how an LLM can perform. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of movement from overall configuration. A lot of that time is being shifted towards refining prompts and making sure that the testing is going the way that we expect and making those adjustments as we see how it performs.
Yeah, I think it's pretty inevitable. Like, and I heard a speaker talk about this the other day. Like, AI is going to impact everyone's jobs in one way or another. Even ultimately, maybe several years down the line, but even the plumbers and electricians are going to be impacted by AI. So, just understanding how we interface with it, how we coach it, how we guide it, how we refine it. I think, at this point in the evolution of AI is really like the important focus.
I do think it's important that everyone's familiar with it. I don't think you have to be using it every single minute of every single day, but plugging in just some questions that you have throughout the day, simple processes, having it help you with things. I mean, I'm using it to help me create infographics and charts that otherwise are sitting in spreadsheets that we use to plan projects and things like that. Well, now we can take that, give it to a tool like Gemini, and it can go and generate intelligent information and present it in a nice visual way. It only takes a few minutes, right? So that's something that I'm spending a lot of time doing day to day. And now I have this sort of shortcut that helps me make it not only faster, but it makes it prettier. It makes it easier to digest. So yeah, that's just an example of how you can take something simple in your day-to-day process and just involve AI and kind of see what happens, right? I think, Ethan Mollick, he's kind of one of the thought leaders in AI. He mentions that sort of exact thing where it's instead of, trying to put everything you're doing in AI, just invite it into your day-to-day life, right? Just try to find little areas where you can use it to enhance whatever you're doing. And you may find some activities it isn't as helpful as you thought it would be. And that's okay. You'll find that other things you're doing is completely changing how you're doing your work because it's really saving so much time in terms of, all of the planning or the research you would have had to do beforehand. Now it's able to really give you a shortcut there, which again, always verify, right? You're doing research with AI. Don't assume that everything you're getting back is completely accurate, right? And I think there's a threshold to where if you are, let's say, doing some deep research, I think there is this point where if that research is so complex and you're unfamiliar with it, you may spend more time trying to verify what the AI is actually producing than you would if you just research it yourself. So I do think there's a balance to strike between, well, does this make sense for me to trust that the AI is producing the right results? And do I have the expertise to be able to verify if those results are correct? So those are just, I think, some things to think about when we're using AI to generate research or really kind of anything that requires accuracy and verifiability.
Yeah, it's just choosing which one of those tasks you choose to outsource to AI and how much you trust that output that is coming from AI. And I think Ethan Mollick talks about the concept of centaurs and cyborgs, right? How much
Yeah.
are we breaking off versus how much are we integrating this in our workflow? So really cool, really exciting stuff. Well, Zach, we're creeping up on our time limit here, but we've talked a lot about Salesforce, and there's a lot to talk about. We also are HubSpot experts, and we're seeing HubSpot do some really amazing things with AI as well. I know recently they unveiled an integration with ChatGPT, so now ChatGPT can do deep research on your CRM, your HubSpot org. What else are you seeing over there with their Breeze AI capabilities? So Zach, here, obviously we've talked a lot about Salesforce AI. There's a lot going on with Salesforce AI, a lot of topics to cover. There will continue to be a lot of topics to cover. But we're very heavily involved with HubSpot as part of our practice as well. We have hundreds of HubSpot clients now experimenting with AI. HubSpot recently announced a plugin with ChatGPT, so now you can access your HubSpot CRM via that deep research functionality. Tell us what else over there. HubSpot calls their AI package Breeze. What else are you seeing from an AI perspective on the HubSpot side?
HubSpot's doing some really cool stuff with AI, and they're taking an approach where, as opposed to Salesforce, which is, hey, let's make this completely customizable, which requires effort, right? You have to have the expertise to go in and integrate the tools that are involved with it. HubSpot has taken a different approach, which is, let's figure out how we can naturally layer in these tools into the platform in a way that feels simple to use, doesn't require a lot of implementation. And that's basically what they've done with things like Breeze. So Breeze is sort of the equivalent of the Agentforce copilot, that internal default agent. Breeze is HubSpot's just sort of copilot where you can have that accessible from within the platform. You can ask questions. You can have it go and pull some information from your CRM, simple things like that. Then this integration that they have with OpenAI, specifically, it's with deep research that allows you to connect your HubSpot org to OpenAI to where you can ask questions about, say, your configuration, and you can say, hey, like, I'm thinking about, do I need to build a custom object for this in HubSpot, or do I need to update some other data? Like, what do you think? And so it's able to go in and analyze your org so that it can answer questions about your org, which is pretty cool. The other cool thing about it is it's leveraging MCP, the Model Context Protocol, which is a newer sort of technology paradigm that allows you to connect AI agents. It could be different AI agents from sort of across the board with services. And so it's a really easy way to allow that agent to essentially get access to a bunch of tools and then be able to communicate with those tools using natural language. And so they're using MCP to connect to OpenAI to allow you to be able to connect that org, ask questions about the org. So I think it's a great update, and they've made it easy to use, right? All you got to do is connect your accounts, and then you can plug it in, and it can begin to pull in all that information, the data, the metadata from your org, and start giving you answers to questions. What I will say is it takes a bit of time right now, because if you have a big HubSpot org, obviously that could pull down a lot of metadata and data. So it can take a while for the AI to actually process the request and do the research. I think we'll see that get faster as time goes on, but it is a little bit of a slower process at the moment. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Um, but yeah, I think HubSpot's doing some really impressive work layering in AI agents. They have a bunch of these sort of purpose-built agents for customer service and for selling, for doing things like creating content on the marketing side. So I'm excited to see what's next with HubSpot and how they go and continue to build upon these agents and create more capabilities. But yeah, overall, I think the approach that they're taking to make this really easy to access is super friendly to SMBs, growing businesses, makes it really easy to access these tools if you're already on HubSpot. I know certain plans like the enterprise plan come with a selection of these AI tools. And so, yeah, really, if you're on HubSpot, go ahead and get started. See what edition you're on, see what you have access to, and start plugging it in. I think it's as easy as really just kind of turning it on.
Yeah, it really is. And I think we mentioned this in an earlier episode, but if you don't follow Dharmesh, HubSpot's co-founder, he has a business called Agent.ai. He has a newsletter that he publishes, doing really fantastic things, really on the forefront of AI development. So he's a great follow for all things AI if you don't follow him already. And we can link to his website in the description here. Well, Zach, we're just about out of time, man. Any final thoughts?
Hey, I think as with everything in AI, it's the Wild West right now. So give it a week or two, and we'll have a whole new list of topics to chat about.
Always good, my friend. We're creeping up on the July 4th holiday, so wish everyone a safe and happy holiday, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Thanks, Eric. Take care.